What's up, truth seekers? Welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the mysteries that history tried to bury. Today we're talking about something huge, something that could change how you see one of history's most influential figures, the lost childhood years of Jesus Christ. We all know the story, right? Born in a manger, visited by wise men, and then, boom, he's a 30-year-old man getting baptized by John. The Bible dedicates 4 whole books to his life, but there's a massive, glaring gap. A black hole of almost 30 years. What happened during that time? Where was he? What did he do? Was it all so unimportant that it was left out? Or was it deliberately hidden? While there's a text that claims to fill in those gaps, it's called the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. And let me tell you, the contents are absolutely wild. This isn't the story of a gentle, meek child. This is the story of a boy discovering he has godlike powers, and not always using them for good. So what does this forbidden book actually say? It paints a picture of a young Jesus who is powerful, unpredictable, and frankly a little terrifying. In one story, a child accidentally bumps into Jesus' shoulder. Jesus, annoyed, says, "You will go no further on your way," and the child immediately drops dead. Yeah, you heard me right. The townspeople are horrified. They complain to his father, Joseph. In another instance, a teacher named Zacchaeus tries to teach Jesus his letters. But Jesus, being divine, already knows everything. He starts schooling the teacher on the mystical meaning of the alphabet, leaving Zacchaeus completely stunned and humbled, admitting he's met a child who is more than human. But it's not all dark. The book also shows a compassionate side. When his friend is bitten by a venomous snake, Jesus simply breathes on the wound and heals him instantly. He also brings a dead child back to life, not out of anger this time, but out of pity for the grieving family. He even helps his father Joseph, who was a carpenter. When Joseph cuts a piece of wood too short for a project, a young Jesus just stretches it to the perfect length. So we have this portrait of a child who can create life and take it away, who can bend the laws of physics, who is both a miracle worker and at times a menace. It's a far cry from the perfect, sinless image we're usually presented with. This brings us to the big question. Why was this book banned? Why was it expunged from the biblical canon in the 4th century by the early church fathers? Officially, it was deemed heretical and inauthentic. The early church, led by figures like Irenaeus and later Athanasius, was working hard to create a unified, consistent narrative about Jesus. They needed a divine figure who was perfect, controlled, and in line with their specific theology. A book showing Jesus as a temperamental, sometimes dangerous child who was still learning to control his immense power. That didn't fit the brand. It was too human, too messy. It raised too many uncomfortable questions. Could a perfect God, even in child form, act out in anger? It threatened the very foundation of the narrative they were carefully constructing. So were the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, carefully selected to create a specific image? To build a mystery around Jesus' early life that made him seem more otherworldly and less like a real kid who had to grow up? It's a compelling thought. Was the Infancy Gospel of Thomas just a fanciful piece of fiction? Or was it suppressed because it contained a truth that was just too inconvenient for the church's agenda? A truth that could shred the narrative they spent centuries building. What do you think? Was this a case of protecting religious doctrine? Or was it a deliberate cover-up to hide a more complex and frankly more human side of Jesus Christ? The line between history and mythology gets very blurry here. That's all the time we have for today. Let me know your theories down in the comments. I want to hear what you think about this controversial text. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Remember, keep questioning, keep researching, and never stop seeking the truth. See you next time.